The moment has arrived. Argentina and Australia coming on to Telstra Stadium tonight for the opening match as we join our commentators Tim Horan, Buddha, Dan Crowley and Gordon Bray.
So as the Argentine players take the field, bulging with pride and passion inside those famous sky blue and white hooped colours of their national rugby team, the Wallabies on the other hand with a sprig of wattle embroidered into their sleeve to commemorate the victims of Bali. George Smith, the young flanker, world-class player, and he'll be joining forces with his other dynamic partner, Phil Gore. They first played together for the New South Wales primary schools team in 1991. And Matt Rogers at fullback. Matt Burke, who's played most of his international rugby there, but Rogers is the man tonight in number 15. It's only his second run-on start in the position, and George Gregan carries the hopes of a nation as the Wallaby leader.
What'll be really important for both sides here tonight is that they look up and look at this crowd, have a look at the people, the young people. Baxter we've spoken about during the day. He's the one man who's going to have a lot on his shoulders tonight, but if he comes through, he'll be a shining light. Gregan having a hard time. He's got to make sure that he keeps his control.
And now the Argentine side in the pack, apart from youngster Albacete, all forwards are 99 World Cup veterans. Opera-singing prop Omar Hassan, part of a front row boasting 130 caps. Martin, the 35-year-old in his last Cup campaign, his 84th cap tonight. And Pichot is a national hero back in Argentina. And the Contepomi twins are playing in their second World Cup. 17 of this 22-man Puma squad have World Cup experience.
Pichot, the captain. All things in life must be done with passion. It comes from the heart, not from the technical skills. Somewhat different to where George Gregan is. He thinks, I don't think so.
Federico Mendes, who made his test debut as a schoolboy. Jorge Cura.
Cadenas, ved el trono la noble igualdad, ya su trono dignísimo abrieron las provincias unidas del sur, y los libros del mundo responden al gran pueblo argentino, salud. Al gran pueblo argentino, salud. Y los libros del mundo respondan al gran pueblo argentino, salud. Y los libros del mundo respondan al gran pueblo argentino, salud. Sean eternos los laureles que subimos conseguir, que subimos conseguir. Coronados de gloria y fama. Juremos con gloria morir, juremos con gloria morir, juremos con gloria morir.
Bienvenidos los Pumas. Buena suerte en el Cup
Gentlemen, the
du
national
Mundo.
anthem of Australia, performed by Miss Deborah Cheatham.
So the Wallaby players discarding their tracksuits. And I wonder if we'll hear from that jolly swagman shortly as we observe the two reserve benches. Giteau, the youngster, Jakiri, the league convert. Vickerman has been a starter in the test matches. Alvarez played against South Africa. And Fernandez Miranda was back up at the World Cup. Bill Young knows this is the toughest possible stage for front rowers. You can hear the voice of Paul Honus, the New Zealand referee. And it's going to be Elton Flatley to start proceedings. Paul Honus is using the same whistle used by the Welsh referee in 1905 at Twickenham. He's stepped up from his first test 6 years ago between Tahiti and Cook Islands. So Elton Flatley about to press the accelerator pedal as Paul Honus will turn on the ignition switch. Rugby World Cup 2003 is underway, and Australia with Flatley, the man who kicked off, now on attack. Nathan Sharp getting involved. It's just outside Argentina's 22. That's Brendan Cannon, the hooker. Phil Waugh arrives. Larkham calls for it. Joe Roth comes in and Sailor. Aussies losing 5 or 6 metres there. 30 out from the Pumas goal line. Off an Argentine hand. Albacete picking up the rebound. And Felipe Contepomi to Stephen Larkham in the last line.
Frenetic start. Points to Argentina. They've held the Wallabies out.
Holding on.
Here goes Pichot. Clever play by the captain, Joe Roth, in the last line now. And brilliant work there by Agustin Pichot. They have gained 40 metres there as Australia failed to release the ball in the tackle.
Well, we've seen the game plan straight away. They're not going to muck around. They want to get on with this game. They want to try and rattle Australia, hit them between the eyes and hit them early.
Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run. Pichot scampering along the touchline. Nearly forced the penalty for being interfered with after the kick. And then Roth, thankfully, he was there.
Australia has pinched the line-out ball. And I think Larkham getting the benefit of the advantage there. There was none coming Australia's way.
What a scene set here. First scrum, Australia's put in defending their own line. Argentina's salivating. Look, there, Alistair Baxter, the young prop. First run-on test for the Wallabies, and they're going to focus in there.
Packing against Roberto Grau, Brian Moore said it's like going down against a tractor in low gear.
Break up.
Australia here are going to be smart about what they do. You'll see that they'll actually come up nice and close, the Argentinians, and try and get away from the... keep as close to them as they can so they minimise the impact of the hit. Good
David
scrum,
Lyons. He made 6 or 7 metres. And now Larkham with more time. And he sees the opportunity beautifully.
That's a better kick from Stephen Larkham.
The heat off the Australians for the time being.
Australian just need to settle down. It was a very tentative start for them. You can see the body language of the Argentinian side. They need business tonight.
Great work to old Baxter. That was a tough one first up.
Not straight. Option goal. Scum your line out.
Pressure once more on the Pumas. They can't get their line out right. One pinched by the Wallabies, one pressured by the Wallabies.
Number two. Over the mark, please.
So Longo was the focal point at the back, and the Australians just happy to reset here and just stall things.
What will Australia do here? Will they use the ball, or will Stephen Larkham kick long?
This is David Lyons again. Oh, a fantastic charge by the big fellow, making 20 metres. Larkham, Rogers outside, Stephen Larkham, Sailor.
Advantage.
Desperate defence there from Argentina.
From the sides.
And an early penalty shot here for Australia. You must enter the ruck from behind the last feet. Argentina coming in on the side.
Great work from Stephen Larkham, just sniping on the left-hand side. His favourite side of the field to run, and George Gregan just giving him a nice ball as we see him slide across, and the Argentinian drift off him. He puts a lovely ball back inside to Wendell Sailor. Great positioning work by Wendell Sailor. Australia now getting some momentum.
So still no score. Flatley to have a shot for goal. So Elton Flatley kicked here against the Welsh. It was one of his 2 off days this season. He's been in superlative goal-kicking form, but only 1 out of 5 against Wales. Otherwise, he's been the sharpshooter, and he beat Matthew Burke in a kick-off to get to this situation tonight. This for first points in Rugby World Cup 2003. The Australian vice-captain ignites the vast crowd. Wallabies 3, Argentina 0. 10-metre line Australian territory, and Nathan Sharp. Gregan into fly half. This is Lyons. War now with a big back line, but it was general play, no offside, and the intercept king, Felipe Contepomi, saves the day for Argentina. Well, Australia had a line of 7 players there to 2 or 3, but Contepomi read it beautifully.
From the side, goal 5. Ball was formed into the side. 7 hit it first and you came second.
Great work from Argentina. They balanced and then struck back, kept it tight in the middle and forced the Wallabies into error. Coming in from the side, you must come in from the back. Great work.
So the score is 3-0 in favour of the Wallabies. And that certainly was another brilliant run by David Lyons, taking over from Tore Kefu. So this one in centre field and just under 50 metres out for Felipe Contepomi. And he had a horror night out in Buenos Aires last year, missing 7 penalty attempts against the Wallabies. Is he on song tonight? He's got the distance. They're pushing it out to the right.
They must get points. A massive possession in balance. 84% so far to the Wallabies and only 16 to Argentina. Those points would have been crucial.
Make sure they're behind you, please, Scott. Make sure they're behind
Australia also dominating the territory.
Winger.
Albanese. Not a great kick, but he regathered brilliantly. That's Martin. Argentina just concentrating on maintaining possession here. Nunes Piasek.
Now we're seeing the Wallabies, how they're defending their defensive pattern, and turned over from the Wallabies. Good work They've worked very hard the last couple of weeks with their defensive coach, John Muggleton, on keeping their zone.
Yes, Tim, I think the key for the Wallabies is to be dominant when they make the tackle, to make it really difficult for Argentina to get the ball away to supports.
And the big thing from what Tim's talking about there is zones. They've got to make sure that if you're in the defensive line, you have about a metre on either side of you, and you've got to make sure on the other side of that, the bloke next to you is doing his part as well, or it just falls apart.
So David Lyons having to clean up that wheeled Australian scrum. He did well. And Larkham. Matthew Burke. Soaring kick to within 15 of the halfway line.
But that's the right idea from the Wallabies. Stephen Larkham, his kicking game is not his forte. So give it to the guys who can kick the ball, as we see Eddie Jones looking on.
Well, that's all right for you, Tim, as a back. But, you didn't gain much ground, and the forwards have had to trundle from the other side across to here. It's early days yet.
Number 2, Mario Ledesma here was ruled out of Argentina's World Cup squad in '99 for abusing a referee, but was later reinstated and forced to referee junior matches as a punishment. Well, that was a marginal one there. It's got to go down the centre of the tunnel, and that's the third not straight throw from Ledesma. So
the problem for
a start.
The problem for Argentina is if they bring Mendes on, he's even worse. They call him the pie thrower. He's that bad at throwing that ball in.
We had Phil Kearns, they called him lightning because he never hit the one spot twice.
Look at the high knee lift action of David Lyons. He's causing havoc in that Puma defence. Larkham, Burke, Rogers, the pass was behind him. Execution letting the Wallabies down.
Gee, they're initiating wonderful starts, and I'm sure Todai Kefu would be delighted with the work of David Lyons with this pass. It goes in front there, and then this one's behind. Or did Matt Rogers overrun it?
He did overrun it. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, the skill of Rogers, he should have been able to take that every day of the week. He'd be filthy at himself.
I think the players just got to hold a little more depth. Matty Rogers maybe should have kept his depth. Matt Burke should have put the ball in front of him, but at least Australia are getting the ball out to their wings.
If Argentina want to stop this Australian juggernaut, which it is at the moment with possession, especially Lions, they've got to stop missing tackles. 6 missed to Argentina, 0 to Australia.
There's a good scrum for Australia, and Martin.
Accidental offside,
Now he had detached from the scrum there. The referees ruled him accidentally offside.
What's fantastic so far with the Australian, they're not trying to go head-to-head against the Argentinians. They know they'll be butting heads against a brick wall, so they're starting to use their smarts. They're trying to wheel it, trying to outfox them in that scrum engagement.
The Australian backline standing very wide here, plenty of room in between.
He shot all over the Aussies. Larkham! Looking for Saylor and Rogers. Bounce important for Rogers. Still in play, Burke. 10 metres out from the Puma goal line. Larkham wants it. So does Saylor. Now Larkham, flatly. Look at the line for the Wallabies. 3 on 2. Lions. Finally they tackle him. Martin. That was a try saver. Here's Larkham. A big line for the Wallabies. Roth went without it.
No advantage, offside.
And offside play by Argentina, who were holding on by the skin of their teeth.
He must
We
retire.
talked earlier about Australia getting rhythm. You can see it starting to come. Great work in close, the ball's going wide, and yes, they're a little bit nervous. Things are breaking down, but they're looking dangerous.
What about the skill from Matt Rogers to keep that ball in on the right-hand side of the field? Stephen Larkham saw it open up. Wendell Saylor was standing on the touchline on this side as Stephen Larkham slid through that drift defence again from the Argentinian side. Watch how wide Saylor and Rogers are, and the skill for Rogers to keep that ball in nearly came to some points.
So it's still Australia 3-0, but a chance here to go further ahead. And Matt Rogers really enjoying himself out there. So now Flatley, who started the night perfectly, looking to strike another lethal blow here for the home team. It's a dream start for the Wallabies. They've squandered a couple of scoring opportunities, 6-0.
Stay on, 7 goals. That's good, that's fine.
Just inside Australia's territory. So Argentina looking to just consolidate things here. Corletto in from the back. It's Sailor showing bravery. And Gregan. Flatley, Joe Rock, Larkham, Matthew Burke's with him. Halfway line ahead, and that's brilliant support from Rock. Inside is Flatley. Now the Australians want to hold on to the ball. Lions, huge numbers for Smith. Wars outside, so is Cannon, and so is Rogers. Argentina regroups for Gregan here. 10 metres out. Phil Ward goes into scrum half. Now it's Smith. They're asking big questions of this Puma defence. 10 metres from the goal line. Cleared by Young. Rogers and Sailor. Sailor looking for the first try. He scored tries in his last 6 Test matches, and Wendell Sailor gets the debut try of Rugby World Cup 2003.
Well, none will be more delighted than Wendell Sailor, but listen to this crowd go off. Last week, the Rugby League Grand Final. This week, the Rugby World Cup, and Wendell performs. Great work, great vision, great width by the Wallabies. Rock stretched them. There was plenty of support. There was a worry the ball wasn't going to go in front of the man. And it struggled on this side of the field. It looked like it might break down. Wendell, go you good thing.
Tim Horan, first try, some brilliant execution from the Australians.
Lovely little flick pass back inside his right-hand side, Matty Rogers to Sailor, and Sailor's strength to get over that line from 7 metres out.
The beauty about Rogers, you can see he's pumped up for this game. He has been everywhere so far. He's just trying to get into everything he can possibly do and touch. But you see that Wendell Sailor, he's on the big stage here. This is why he came from league. He wanted to be in the international spotlight. He's put everything into it to make sure that he was here today, and he hasn't let anybody down with a great try.
So this to give Australia 13-point start. Flatley, his most difficult kick so far. Just across the face. Australia 11, Argentina 0. So Wendell Sailor, what a moment to treasure for him.
What a start. Wallabies scoring points every time they're journeying, forcing the Argentines into error.
And what a scary sight for Longo when Wendell Sailor's coming at you. He's even bigger than the number 8. But Argentina has retained the ball from the kickoff. They desperately need to hold on to some possession here to put some pressure on the Wallabies.
Far better work. Simple, basic things. They go one out. They then join with others. They get a lot of powerful drive. I don't think they'll go to the backs too early.
Pichot to Contepomi. Well, that one's gathering snow. Here comes Manuel Contepomi, and that's a penalty. It could also be a yellow card.
He did not even look at going at that ball then. He had one look where the ball was, and the man just went after the man.
Rush of blood.
That's 13, number 13.
This is dangerous play. He wasn't even contesting the ball at any stage. We'll listen to the touch judge. The crowd here have gone off.
Now, Wendell Sailor will appreciate that because he had a similar rush of blood at this ground.
Correct.
And he paid the price.
I thought it was fairly intentional. I didn't see any chance of going for the ball. I'm talking yellow. What do you think? Thank you very much. Everywhere. Sorry? No. Gus, composure, okay? Your player has deliberately taken a player in the air. I'm going to give him a yellow card.
twin brother
Number
of
13.
Felipe. Their father played for
Ball was put
Argentina in the
You
60s.
must challenge in the air. You made no attempt to go for the ball. No, you are off. Dangerous play.
10 minutes off the field, deliberate foul. You can't attack a player in the air. Australia 11-0, Argentina a man down.
If you could find another way to make it worse, they just did. Yellow card.
Now this is where Australia have to keep putting on the points. They have to build some pressure back into the Argentinian half and start creating some of these opportunities that they're making and put some points on the board.
It's now a numbers game, Tim, and you're exactly right. They've got to pick the places where they can outnumber the Pumas and plug away there.
So knock on by Santiago Filan, and that's where Australia's just looking sharper in every facet of the play. Filan should have gathered that ball.
Still possession going Australia's way by more than 70%. Telling stat.
Well, you saw the front row coming in early before the engage was given, and off he goes again, David Lyons.
This is about numbers running at them, so there's still opposition players behind them.
So this Argentine defence in trouble out wide here. There's a few tight forwards on this side of the field, but it's been slowed down.
Not releasing, rolling over.
And it's time for Argentina just to slow down the tempo.
But we're seeing a lack of poise on the international stage. This side is better than this. They played better against France. They played better against South Africa. I think the occasion might just be worrying them. They're nervous, know they're capable of doing better than this.
On All Saints.
Roberto Grau to Ledesma. So Argentina, a man in the sin bin, looking to put some pressure on here.
Number 4 entering the line out from the receiver position.
Well, when the person who's supposed to receive the ball from the line out, you can't go into it.
And this could be telling. 3 points while someone on your own team is in the sin bin.
Well, it's eating up time on the clock, importantly, for Argentina.
It's also important for Argentina here. This is where Pichot's got to actually grab his team together, pull them in, start having a chat, talk to their forward leaders, say, let's start not worrying about the referee. Let's just get down to concentrating on our own game. We spoke about it before, about doing the simple things right. Get back into their own rhythm. Don't worry about what the Australians are doing. Just do what they've been training to do. They get the 3 points here. They're back into this first half, and they're eating up valuable time before they get their player back on the ground.
This one just has to go over for Argentina. A real kick in the guts here if Contepomi can't convert. Los Pumas on the board at Telstra Stadium. Wallabies 11, Argentina 3.
That's a start. Now more. They've got to change this possession stat. And they've got to be able to get people into spaces, and they've got to do it very quickly.
And it's also very important to make sure Australia, realising they've got the extra man, they don't start throwing wild passes around. They've still got to treat them with respect.
Lost ahead there by Joe Roth. Referee plays advantage. And what about the composure of Joe Roth in that try, where he made the break in support down the left-hand side, then steadied play and threw a long cut-out pass to kick-start the movement again.
Very experienced player, Joe Roth. 19-year-old at the 1995 World Cup. He needs to lead from the front tonight.
Great to have him back, but Larkham so far a big effect on the game. 13 times passed or run, and the Argentines haven't been able to work out a counter.
So nearly 5 minutes gone for Manuel Contepomi in the sin bin, halfway through his stints, and Argentina having scored 3 points to 0 in that time. Pichot. Felipe. Heavy pressure there from the tearaways, Phil Ward and George Smith, and virtually no ground for the Pumas.
It's like letting the two greyhounds off the leash, isn't it? They go after that ball. But that's what Australia have got to do. Keep putting pressure in every facet of the game.
This is Australia's attacking zone. David Lyons gone wide outside of Matt Burke, standing very wide.
So Nathan Sharp again at the front. Burke. Larkham. Here's the Molong Mincer. David Lyons. George Smith arrives. Brendan Cannon ripping onto him to secure the ball for Australia. Larkham with Roth outside. Phil Moore getting past Contepomi, who comes again.
Same way the Wallabies have got numbers. George Gregan comes back.
Larkham infield to Baxter, who wasn't expecting it. And he was isolated there. Omar Hassan over the top of him, number 3.
It's good defence by the Argentinian side. They held their line. Stephen Larkham putting a ball back inside. Al Baxter slips on the turf, and that's happened a couple of times now for the Wallabies, being turned over by holding onto the ball.
Well, the Argentinians showing their great skill holding the ball onto the chest of Al Baxter, but you get away with it. Milk a penalty from the referee. This is what they're waiting to do. They're trying to delay until they get their man back from the sin bin.
Big question is, where's this line out going to end up?
3 more minutes in the sin bin. So again, the line-out problems continue for Argentina.
It's penalised here for jumping. Obviously, he said outside arm, the referee, but it was a two-handed catch.
Very good scrum from Australia there. Led up by Al Baxter on the tight head side.
Interesting to see, before the scrum went down, Alton Flatley, Steve Larkham, George Gregan getting together very early and calling the play that's needed.
Oh, they were sucking that time, the Wallabies, Dan. The Argentine just backing off as soon as the Wallabies hit. They said, if we can get penalised for it, and so can you.
So it's been a good passage of play for Argentina. Fernandez Lobe, the big fellow, takes it up, and now Contepomi. Roth in great position. Intercepted, Younes Piasek, and a foot into touch.
Oh, Joe Roth with a smile on his face. He was lucky to get away with that one.
Dodgy manoeuvre, that one. He's capable of going down the line and nearly got found out.
So Nathan Sharp again. Good deviation there for Burke now. 8 from halfway.
Great dummy runner.
Straight in from the sides. Straight in from the sides. No.
So it's against Contepomi for coming in on the side there, says the referee. And Paul Honus has been very strict on that particular offence. The person not coming in from behind the last feet in the ruck or maul.
If you come in from the side, you get an extra advantage because you get closer to the ball. And that is what they're trying to stop. Good work by Australia. They kept it, but you can see where Contepomi, he hasn't gone back around the back and then come back in. He's just shadowed the man to the side and gone in on and getting the advantage. That's where the penalty came.
But there's only a minute left for the sin bin. And soon they'll be back, and they've held out.
Australia have got to strike now.
Only 8 points the difference. So Giffen calling for that one. It's gone over his head. Santiago Filan and Martin. Huge tackle by Sharp. Pichot. Contepomi. Stepping, but can't get around Bill Young. Australia trying to rip this one off him. Martin in close. The the 35-year-old, oldest man on the field.
Up we come. He can't roll clear. He is caught in there.
So it was just a tackle there, no collapse maul. Argentina going forward, they get the scrum feed.
Okay, Paul. Sinman is over.
And Contaponi just coming back on the field. So Argentina's won that last 10 minutes, leading 3-0 while Contaponi was off the field.
Longo, straight into Phil Waugh. Fernandez Lobe.
He's on.
And Argentina kicking away there from Rogers. And a fine touch kick inside the Aussie 22.
Australia now have to grind away in their own 22 as we see the Argentinian coach, Lafrida, looking on. He'd be reasonably happy with the last 10 minutes.
Yes, he played in the famous win in Buenos Aires in 1979 against the Wallabies, and also in 83 at Ballymore.
Thanks for mentioning that, Good.
Chris Handy in that 79 team.
Oh, did you play in that one, Good?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And you were too young in 83, Dan. So David Giffen that time, the Wallaby co-vice captain.
This is a good sign from the Wallabies. This driving maul shows they've got control and the appetite to do it. Now they've got to produce something.
Here's Rogers. Sailor, just by the bootlace. And Sailor not releasing in the tackle. There was a man on his feet trying to get the ball. And that's another area that Paul Honus, the referee, has been strict on tonight.
Having a shot.
If you're tackled and there's a man on his feet from the opposition team, as we see here.
As we see, Wendell Sailor needs to place the ball back. And for me, George Gregan needs to get in there. He's one of the first players there, but he's waiting for the ball. He needs to go in.
So the score here at Telstra Stadium, Australia 11, Argentina 3. And concerns here for that knock in the head. Wendell Sailor proving a real handful, but he did get isolated there, and Albacete,
But it is
Fernandez Lobe.
It is one of the things that George Gregan gets criticised for occasionally, in not stepping forward and going into things and securing that ball. And the player on the ground says, hey, I want to let it go, but I just don't think I've got any boys around.
The old Australian coach, Bob Dwyer, said it's not the man who goes on the ground whose fault it is for that penalty. It's the people around him who didn't get to him and support him. They're the people who gave away the penalty.
Felipe Contepomi aiming to close the gap to just 5 points. Lovely strike. No joy for Argentina.
And for all their lack of possessions and the mistakes they've made, score still only 11-3. And Australia is sitting in a comfort zone at the moment that is getting a little bit more uncomfortable.
Nunes Piasek to fullback Corletto. Rogers and Corletto, the two number 15s. Rogers wrapped up by Nunes Piasek. Spectacular effort there from the Aussie 15. Larkham. Pichot. Back to Fernandez Lobe and now Contepomi. Counters on for Argentina. Corletto. Trying to open up the Aussie defence, which is regrouped.
Balls out, balls out, balls out.
Orlando Martin.
Last feet goal.
So Argentina has come right back into this game, although they're down on the scoreboard.
No hands.
They really covered up well in that 10 minutes sin binning. And this is Joe Roth acting as fullback, looking for a counter here from Sailor. Burke's outside, and so is Rogers. Well, that's daring play from the Aussies, and it's paid off handsomely.
Good option, Matt Rogers. Well done. He looked down, the fullback wasn't home. I know he had Matt Burke outside of him, but he needed the fine touch. Australia need to get back into territory.
4 minutes to go before half-time. Australia have got to lift, Butter. I think you're right. They're cruising at the moment. They've got to lift. They've got to put a punch on, and they've got to score points before half-time. If they don't score before half-time, it's giving the Argentinians a sniff, and the last thing you want to do is have an arm wrestle with these blokes with 15 minutes to go.
Key to it, the line-outs. This must be straight.
The horror movie continues, but looks as though the touch judge happy that time. Argentina scrambling the line-out ball. Pressure from George Gregan forces a very ordinary kick from Corletto.
Good pressure from George Gregan. He knows how important it is for Australia to score points in this next 2.5 minutes before half-time.
Corletto, known as Nani to his teammates. He's moved to Stade Francais this year from Narbonne in France. Lyons gets the line out for Larkham. Larkham through the dummy. Till Waugh couldn't hold on. Well, there's been some missed opportunities through bad finishing from the Aussies. Corletto dispossessed, and the referee pulls it back to the initial knock-on.
How good was that by George Smith there?
They're hunting as a pack. Smith and Waugh, just that ball, that inside pass, Larkin's doing the work. It's just not going to hand, but oh gee, there's some ominous signs. The Wallabies getting into space. I think Smith may have been taken out just before he got the ball.
Well, he was certainly a thief in the night. 11-3 to Australia.
This is a success story in the number 3 jersey for the Wallabies, Alistair Baxter. He's just muted all of the pre-game hype. They asked for all the tapes on him and went to work on him, and as yet they haven't shown any way of affecting him.
So Contepomi happy to close proceedings down as we verge on half-time.
Every time Larkham's got the ball and he's been going forward, he's been able to cause havoc. It's the Larkham of old. He's just got to make sure he doesn't try and throw the 50-50 pass. He's got to make sure he sets it back up and then goes again.
I think it's up to the people who support him. You said it before. And, they've got to get closer and they've got to get it into the bread basket.
Well taken there by David Giffen again. 10-metre line. Puma's territory. Hand in the ruck. And a chance for some very important points just seconds before the half-time break.
Good work here by the Australian backline, sending Joe Roff up the middle to try and set second and third phase ball. But as you can see, the Argentinian hand just reefing the ball out of Roff.
Yes, when the ruck is formed, no hands in the ruck allowed. So that illegality under the referee's nose. And Elton Flatley, who hasn't had a bad night at 2 out of 3, has this opportunity to increase Australia's lead to 11.
There has been a lot of drop ball in this half, and I think it's due to there's a little bit of dew on the ground out here tonight. It's a little bit cool sitting on the sideline, so that could be part of why all these drop balls are happening in this first half.
So Elton Flatley will be very popular among teammates and the majority of the crowd. He can hit this one sweetly. And that should be half-time. It's Australia 14 leading Argentina 3, and 3 penalty goals to Elton Flatley. Felipe Contepomi gets proceedings underway in this second half. And a heavy spill there for Nathan Sharp. He looked to come down on his shoulder. It's David Giffen, actually.
And he hasn't moved. I hope he might be knocked out. He has not moved since he's come down on the ground.
So David Giffen in big trouble here.
Referee's got to get someone to him here.
Absolutely. Paul Harness is coming to him. The eyes are just staring. They're glazed over. Dilated pupils, it looks like. came right down on the side of his head in an awkward position, and I'd be hopeful it's not something to do with his neck either. He goes up high and he just tips over. I don't know that he gets pulled. Look at that. Oh, the crowd here just groaning.
Just the head hitting the ground as he falls there.
Oh.
And coming down heavily on his right shoulder as well. And could have done with a bit more assistance in the cushioning of that fall from teammates. But a savage blow there for the Wallaby team and David Giffen.
We definitely hope that David Giffen is okay. But I must say this, that's one golf cart you wouldn't want to be on, is it?
Absolutely.
So the operation overseen by Dr. Martin Raftery, the Wallaby doctor. And now we resume.
Oh, tight head to the Wallabies. Fantastic strike by Brendan Cannon.
David Lyons for Gregan and Larkham. Flatley's outside. He was cut out. And Matthew Burke on his left foot. This is Corletto inside his 22. Burke again. Larkham outside. Sailors herring back to support. Larkham's going to look for territory. And he'll be happy with that one. 10-metre line, Argentina's territory. Australia 14-3.
Stephen Larkham, you can see he's passed 13 times and run 3. He's been the attacking genius tonight for the Wallabies. But they need, as you said, Dan Crowley, to put their foot on the pedal. They need to pick the pace of this game up. They can't play to the same pace that the Argentinian side is at the moment.
At the start of the game, we spoke about giving the ball to someone else to kick because Larkham wasn't getting much purchase. It wasn't too bad that time, but he's about the only one I'd play forcing backs against.
Fernandez Lobe at the front.
Referee said it was okay, but that was as crooked as some of the others.
So Argentina has possession, some rare possession from a line-out. Rogers wants it. Sailor supported. Space. Ankle tap by Pichot. Here's Larkham. Overlap Australia. Too slow through the hands. Contepomi now. Smith there first. Superb skill. And Gregan. What a recovery there by the Australians and their skipper.
Just what they needed, the Wallabies. It broke down with the tackle on Elton Flatley, but well covered.
Both teams showing incredible skills. Sailor and Rogers working brilliantly this breakout. But look at the charge down from the Pumas. They're really forcing and pressuring. Flatley gets caught. Look at this.
Long go at the back. So Argentina, again, pinned in their half. Difficult pass there for Contepomi. He saw space, and that's a hefty reply. Rogers and Sailor. Wendell's going to have a crack. He's beaten 2. Well, he's beaten the first tackle every time. Here's Roth now. And that one coming off the side of his boots. So a let-off there for Argentina and a chance to get the line out here just 35 metres out from the Wallaby goal line.
He wouldn't be happy with that kick, Joe Roth, as we see Wendell Sailor again beating the first 2 tackles, holding the ball in 2 hands, which is so important, and then trying to get an offload towards the end.
Missed tackles costing Argentina. 22 so far to Australia's 3. And these lineouts. Get it straight. Nathan Sharp, I think, is pilfered.
Nathan Sharp over Albacete. It was physical, brute strength winning through.
Ledesma, he's having an absolute shocker trying to throw that ball in at the moment. How long is it going to be before we see the shepherd's hook?
Marcelo Lofreda has got to get Federico Mendes on the field. He's not the noted thrower, but he's got to be able to do a little better than this.
There's word from the dressing room down there, the Wallaby dressing room, that David Giffen is badly concussed, so for his family at home watching or here tonight, he should be okay.
Here's Rogers, and that certainly is very encouraging news for David Giffen. Corletto getting through Rogers' tackle. Pichot, ever elusive. 12 from halfway. Argentina's had no continuity at all in this game. And Contepomi with that cultured right boot. Here's Joe Roth. He saw the open space. Corletto did a nice little pirouette. And it's a game of forcings back at the moment.
Australia have done so well carrying the ball up and all of a sudden have reverted to a little kick and back game.
Albanese. Lovely step. Sandwich, Cannon underneath. Elton flatly over the top. And now Albanese.
Oh, great work by Cannon. Tackle and rip. Oh, that's harsh work on Cannon there. He's actually, as he's gone into tackle, he's actually ripped the ball one-on-one, but unfortunately he didn't have the momentum of his players over the top, got pinned on their side, and the referees penalised him.
It was a good counter-attack by Argentina. They want to run the ball. They don't want to kick the ball back to Australia now. They want to keep the ball in hand, and Contepomi is the one that has to play those plays.
And Tim, why do you think the Wallabies have chosen to start kicking the ball back?
I don't know. It looks very, just from the sideline here, they look very tentative, and they're staying inside their 22 when they've got about 20 or 30 metres to run back at the Argentinians. They need to start chancing their arm a little bit before this game gets away.
Well, they need to work on their discipline also at the ruck and maul as Martin with a head of steam into Larkham. Now Argentina needing quick ball. Grau. Pichot working to Hassan.
Limited options. The Pumas need to be more creative.
Good work by Bill Young. Drop goals on. Contepomi. How is it? Sailing to the left.
Well, that just showed the lack of options there, didn't it? They've gone back for the last resort in trying to do the drop goal.
Got to have more composure than that. You've got to be able to last longer than that in phases if you're to really fight at this top level.
I think Contepomi knows it too. He knows it was the wrong option, but he needs players outside of him to call.
Flatly then to Nunez, Piosek and Corletto. Another huge punt kick. Rogers underneath. Sailor's calling for it here. Rogers says, let's go. Gregan, Larkham and Sailor. Again, he beats the first tackle.
He had Matt Burke outside of him, unmarked. Maybe should have passed, but the play is still on with George Smith going on the inside.
Look at the pass from Smith to Young. Ross with him. Big Joe Roth.
He's pulled it forward.
Forward pass.
He had so much time. He had 5 options. He just couldn't pick the one to give it to.
And then he went one step too many onto the wrong foot and had to pass across the top of it. Something simple that Phil Waugh would have done 1,000 times as a schoolboy. Wendell Sailor probably should have moved the ball on earlier to get the width, but it still wasn't over. And this, the breakout. Look here, Bill Young, last pass.
Well, it's the action of the hands in the pass. The motion of the hands has to be backwards.
Young running like a back rower there. The locks and the flowing. Great work, but just let him down at the end.
I think Joe Roth was in reverse there, trying to keep up with him.
Well, as he sprinted away, I thought it was Phil Waugh. You know, like he's just jumped on the ball.
But quite seriously now, the Wallabies, someone has to take this game by the scruff of the neck. Someone has to. Matt Rogers is trying to do something, so is Wendell Sailor, but they need to start converting these opportunities.
Tim, it's Lyons that's got to step up again. He's gone a bit quiet early. So effective in the first half.
Long goes straight into Phil Waugh, 22-metre line. Argentina just battling to get out of their territory at the moment. And the Wallabies wanting to go up a couple of gears here and take a stranglehold on this game.
From this set piece, Australia have got to devise a plan to get the ball forward. Get some momentum going forward. Every time Larkham has got that ball and he's running when he receives it, he's carving up this back line. He's got to start getting it on the fly. Australia, 10 handling errors. That's very uncharacteristic of them.
Here we see Australia's short line out once again with David Lyons standing very wide with Phil Waugh close.
Here's Gregan. Larkham and Sailor. He's elusive.
And strong.
Pichot again felled him. That's Nathan Sharp and Gregan now for Larkham and Flatley. His Lions, 22-metre line. Australia 14-3. Now Matthew Burke. Just caught by Martin. Defence disorganised here for Cannon. Martin.
Well done, Brendan Cannon, going back towards his forward pack.
Gregan and Larkham. Sharp's out wide, and so too on the inside is David Lyons.
Fabulous defence from Argentina.
Gregan goes himself. And he realised there that Paul Honus was playing advantage. But certainly a try on for Australia. Instead, it looks like 3 points.
Hassan didn't roll away from the ball, but Australia needed to get more points out of that. And George Gregan taking the 3 points. Probably a good decision.
So Australia ahead by 14-3, penalty kick to come.
Finally, phases by the Wallabies, getting them into space, but they still can't break through. Missed tackles by Argentina, and Argentina didn't miss that tackle. They smashed Lyons as he punched through the gap. That was really dangerous.
Flatley looking for his 4th penalty goal. He could just about blow this one over. So, another significant 3-pointer for the Wallabies, who are out to a 14-point lead. So nearly 12 minutes gone in the second half. Dan Vickerman. Argentina just losing a bit of contact with the Wallabies on the scoreboard. And a try here for Australia.
Australia
really consolidate.
Australia going straight back at the heart of the Argentinians, giving them something that they are proud of themselves.
Here's Flatley. Rogers. Rock. And Burke is here. And Saylor. Saylor went without it. That's a critical turnover by the Wallabies, just when they wanted to press home the advantage. Albanese with a big step. Gregan wraps him up.
No advantage. Lost forward.
That was better depth from the Wallaby backline. We saw Matty Rogers coming in at depth, and the Argentinian backline were moving up man on man. But Australia can't keep turning over the ball like they are. Matty Rogers in full flight back inside to Wendell Saylor. But once again, just that ball security.
That's the time how we see the Wallabies playing, using Rogers and Roff going wide and Saylor punching holes in the middle.
So it's Australia ahead of Argentina by 17-3, but they've scored just the 1 try. It's the boot of Elton Flatley with 4 penalties. 17-3. So no substitutes off the bench yet for just the one enforced replacement. And that was Dan Vickerman on for David Giffen.
And look at that massive fly half possessions, passing 18 times. Just nearly double the Argentinian first receiver statistics.
Well, Stephen Larkham's looked very sharp at number 10 tonight, showing glimpses of his vintage best. Longo to Pichot and Martin. They love to work the short side from the scrum. They're up to halfway. And that was Albacete. Contepomi just hugging the touchline, needing the bounce here. And it doesn't get much better from an acute angle for Felipe Contepomi.
I think Contepomi starts to realise they need to play it in the Wallaby half, because his forwards are starting to tire, so he needs to keep the ball in front of them.
Well, if you're going to kick, that is a cracker. just into that territory. That's the pressure zone. Right on the 5 metre. Everything will be going on. Australia without their line-out general, David Giffen, off with concussion. A bit more pressure comes on them. They'll work it out again.
So there's Nathan Sharp, who's been prolific in the line-out. That's his 5th line-out win. And Larkham forced onto his left boot by the pass. Albanese straight into George Gregan. Argentina now with their opportunity. They're trailing by 14 on the scoreboard. Sitting at the back of Albanese. That's Roberto Grau. And crunching defence from Bill Young again. Well, he was driven into the ground and driven backwards by Bill Young. The Australians with looks of disbelief after doing all that hard work. Vickerman assisting.
I think he's saying, hey, we went down in the tackle. I was tackling, and he was attached to the tackler. How can that be considered going over the top? Referee incorrect. He was unsighted, came around and got sucked in.
Who'd be a referee?
Especially a New Zealand one.
Well, that was a perplexing decision.
You're a cruel man, Dan.
George Gregan there trying to get an explanation off Paul Honus. It's good to see George not back-chatting to him and just listening.
That was a legitimate gang tackle. So Contepomi. Can he close the gap? He's missed 2 tonight. Not happening.
And I think you'd have to say by that decision to take the 3 points that Argentina are still looking for that bonus point. They need a bonus point if they get within 7 points of the Wallabies, and it's going to be very important in this pool of death with Ireland there as well.
I think the Wallabies got off lightly there. They're procrastinating. Get on and do something positive. And this, the same thing for Argentina. Don't kick this ball away.
Nunes PSX kick. Well taken by Corletto, the fullback. Argentina on the attack again here. Martin. Contepomi. Ledesma. There's Dan Vickerman with a body hug tackle. Now Longo takes it ahead. 22 metres out from the Wallaby goal line. Contepomi, advantage here for Argentina. Little knock-on spotted by referee Honus. So it's still Australia in the lead by 17-3, and problems here for Corletto. And he appeared to cop a stray leg or knee there from one of his teammates. Ignacio Corletto getting a knock in the face. It looks like a stint in the blood bin for him.
Usually hurts a little bit more when it's one of your own teammates too.
Juan Hernandez now on the field, the 21-year-old whose sister Maripi was an Olympic silver hockey medalist here at Sydney 2000 with the Argentine team. Argentina playing in the hockey gold medal playoff against the Hockey Roos.
You can see through the possession statistic that's now evened up at about 50% all. But Argentina are just frustrating the Wallabies. They've got to get up into that other gear. They tell us they've got it. They've done the hard physical work. But it seems that the Pumas are the ones that are just grinding away.
Again, Longo is the money man for Argentina, but Australia drive ahead initially. Argentina come back. Coming now for the Pumas. Looking to get another rumble going here.
I don't think they're going to give the backs a sniff of this.
Australia have to stay disciplined here. Don't give away another penalty and look to force a mistake.
Taken ahead by Fernandez-Lobbe. Now the backs get their chance, but it's slow, static ball. Flatley was the tackler.
Leave it 6, leave it.
Albacete again. Longo. Martin, very strong, experienced player. Roberto Grau supports. Fernandez-Lobbe. Contepomi.
They had to come back inside. They were outnumbered, the Argentinians. They had the advantage, yet they didn't have the numbers out wide.
Albanese, the Argentine winger, is that far over on the other wing, waiting to try and get the ball. He's waving. I think he looks like someone from the crowd. He's that far over.
He's sitting in the front row of the stand.
Well, Argentina had it for 7 phases there and went nowhere.
A quick stinger on the shoulder or elbow for Dan Vickerman. Sees him trying to get it working again.
Corletto back on, replacing Hernandez. And Dan Vickerman, but still only one substitute for Australia, Dan Vickerman so far.
Australia have got to get, at the moment, they're saying, hey, we've got a bit of a lead. They look like they've just put their backs on the rope and just saying, just have a go at us. We'll just play it nice and easy. This is the time they've got 20 minutes to go in this opening game. They've got to be ruthless. They've got to be clinical. They've got to put these Argentinians away because they've got to be looking for bigger fish down the track. They've got to be hard on themselves.
Great scrum.
David Lyons taking it 6 metres. Here's Larkham now. Low trajectory. And another brilliant touch finder from Stephen Larkham, who's been working out 4 times a week with kicking coach Ben Perkins. That's Coffs Harbour.
That's a better structured play from the Wallabies to get out of their 22. Well done, Stephen Larkham. He hasn't kicked a lot tonight. He's been running. But on that occasion, he needed to get the Wallabies out of their half.
Well, 2 of the ominous developments for Australia have been Stephen Larkham and his very accomplished display, and also David Lyons at number 8. But again, these woes continue for Mario Ledesma. How long before Federico Mendes comes on?
Now this is where the Wallabies, with 20 minutes to go in this game, have to put their foot on the pedal and have to start building phases. They need to get to 4, 5, 6 phases to put the defence under pressure.
Let's reset on the spot, okay? Just relax. Scratch and hold. Just lost his footing.
So Bill Young going down on one knee. Have to keep your head above the level of the hips at the scrum engagement.
You have to give Paul Honus his due tonight. Hasn't he been fantastic? He's been really talking to the players. Everybody knows exactly where their place is.
Better scrum from Argentina. Well cleaned up there by David Lyons. So George Gregan. Larkham. Flatley. It was not a good pass round the ankles there of Rogers, and composure was needed by the Wallabies.
Handling errors. They had the break, they had the numbers, they had good ball. Shocking pass. The 13th handling error. Bad number.
Right idea, but just the execution let them down. They looked like they stood very flat then, the Wallaby backline, as the Argentinian coach looks on.
Well, Flatley rightly trying to execute the quick hands. Cut out pass.
It's always going to be difficult against the Argentinian backline, who usually play a man-on-man defence, which means they're coming up very quick and taking the man right in front of them and putting them under pressure. So they're not drifting in defence, but Australia need to just hold their depth a little bit so the ball can move a little bit wider.
You hear the whistles, the wolf whistles in the background from the girls in the crowd as Brendan Cannon strips off in front of 80,000 people to put on a new pair of trousers.
Donald, where's your trousers?
I think there's a few men as well, Krause.
Longo. So a better scrum again from Argentina. This is Martin. They're starting to muscle up in the forwards. and take Australia on. Up front, Ledesma just happy to pick and drive. Contepomi.
Australia have to make the tackles. They can't be falling off too many tackles. They must move up.
Corletto coming in there, and now Fernandez-Lobe. And what about poor little Albanese out on the wing?
He looks
must have caught a cold.
Yeah, he should put his tracksuit on.
Ledesma slipped it back in field. And he said, "No, I didn't, sir. I threw the ball backwards." And I think he has a strong case there.
Albanese's that far out. You'd have to send him a letter to get a message, wouldn't you?
Now, watch this pass. Watch his hands. Does he throw it forward? He says, "I shifted the ball backwards." And you've got to agree with him, really. Tough ball. Now, Argentina has overtaken Australia in the possession stakes.
And that's a statistic that I'm sure Eddie Jones will look at full time. He'd want this Wallaby side to keep the ball in hand a little bit more. They've got some fantastic attacking players. They can't attack without the ball.
There's all sorts of tricks going on in the front row there, and Hassan, he wants to be very careful. He's tried pulling Bill Young forward on the loose head of the Wallaby scrum, and then he's rolled in and down. Needs to be pretty stable here. He's gone down again.
So Ben Darwin looks as though he's set to come on the fields as Dan Vickerman takes it towards the 10-metre line. Now Rogers from inside his 22. And getting a nice outswinger on that one. So 10-metre line, Argentine territory. They're enjoying this wrestle with the Australian forwards, just sapping the energy, but Albacete and Fernandez-Lobe there slipping it back. Contepomi. Rogers. This is Burke. Sailor inside. Now Roth. Rogers saying kick it ahead, but Burke supported. There's a good chance for the Wallabies here. Flatley to Larkham. This is Sharp. Smashing into the Argentine defence. 24 out. Gregan to Larkham and Roth. Execution again. Australia's downfall.
That was thrown like an absolute rocket at Joe Roth then. A man coming at speed, only 2 metres away, and they're throwing it 1,000 miles an hour.
Great build-up.
Was lovely build-up. Wendell Sailor, Joe Roth back inside to Matt Burke, and Matt Burke did well to control the ball and place it back, but then it broke down on the next phase.
You can have all the training you want over 2 months, but there is no substitute for actual game time. Test match atmosphere, and the Australians have looked decidedly rusty tonight with their finishing.
Here we see Matt Giddo coming onto the field, replacing Stephen Larkham. Great opportunity for Matt Giddo to show what he can do on the field. Well played, Stephen Larkham, tonight.
So it's 17-3, Australia in the lead. So little Matt Giddo is on for Australia, the 21-year-old who debuted against England last year at Twickenham, playing at fly half now in place of Stephen Larkham.
It was interesting to hear yesterday from one of the players that Stephen Larkham didn't train yesterday with the team. He was sick in bed, so he's done well to play 60-odd minutes tonight.
And the beauty we see about Larkham tonight also is when it's the Larkham of old, just starting to bubble to the surface. He's left from where he left off in '99 at the World Cup. He's starting to get back to that old form. When he takes the ball at speed, he can cause some dead set havoc to the opposition backline.
Well, the key is for Stephen Larkham running with the ball in 2 hands, and he's done that well tonight.
This is Ledesma. Another scrappy line-out win for Argentina. Albacete takes ahead. Longo. But the Argentinians have looked pedestrian with the ball in hand. They've played it very close to their forwards, seemingly not having confidence in the men out wides. Roberto Grau. This is Corletto, trying to get involved from fullback, but comfortably met by the Wallaby defence.
He's continually recycling the ball and finding forwards in the back line and not being able to get the continuity that they want, Argentina. If they're going to break this line, they're going to have to do it with one of their speedsters.
Well, they've got a back line a mile long here, and they're not even using them. They've got to get it out to the wingers. Give them the opportunity.
Contepomi, they're flat-footed. Now they're trying to set up a mini maul in centre field, sucking in the defenders, but it's coming out too slowly again.
Well, I think that sides that be watching this tonight, Ireland, they won't be shaking their boots tonight after this performance from Argentina. That they need to find space.
Orengo, Corletto, Albanese still can't get the ball on the left wing.
Yet so far.
Contepomi throws a big dummy. Albanese and Pichot.
Advantage being played by the referee, Matt Cobain, called offside.
Orengo now. And here it is for Corletto. Did he hold on to the ball?
I don't think he thinks he did.
No, I think it was a great tackle by Wendell Sailor. I think he's just got him over the sideline.
We obviously just want to check with it.
So it came from nothing, really. Pichot started it.
Okay,
again, it was down the short side.
The player wasn't in touch before he grounded
Ignacio Corletto. Has he got it down here?
Thank you.
Looks okay to me.
What Honus has gone upstairs for is to see if the foot outside the vision there had gone into touch.
Well, whose legs is it that take out the corner post? Is it Wendell Sailor that takes it out? And I think it is. And I think
it's whether or not that knee actually hits the ground outside the line before that ball goes down. But 1 second lapse of concentration by Australia.
That looks to be a fair try. Wendell has already taken out the corner post. And suddenly, Argentina is within striking distance.
Decision is coming.
Time on now. Thank you.
Belatedly, Argentina gets their first try of the Rugby World Cup. And we have a ball game. Now some nail-biting for both sides in the last 10 minutes. And this kick takes on a new dimension as well, because if successful, Argentina will trail by just a converted try. Well, breathing space for the Wallabies. And it hasn't been a happy night with the boot for Contepomi, just 1 from 5. So his record against Australia in his last 2 tests is 3 from 12.
And here
there's the wizard, Tim.
Here we see Pichot getting the ball out wide. It's important that the Argentinian side, their backs had to get some ball. And Corletto did well to beat Salah for the corner.
17-8. The Wallabies given a real boot in the backside by the Pumas. Still 8 minutes to go before full time in this World Cup opener.
Up we come. Goal ball.
Now that was a maul. In that situation where the ball is up off the ground, in the maul, it's use it or lose it. Argentina not able to get it back.
Great work by Nathan Sharp. They've said he's actually come through the middle of that, got his hands onto the ball and made sure he's held onto it. Brennan Cannon being replaced by Jeremy Paul. Brendan's had a great game, done everything asked of him, been the general in that front row, held it together.
Here's Flatley, caught by Martin. Gregan looking for the quick ball. Gitto. Joe Roth, lovely running from Roth. Great reply, Australia. Well, it was the ACT Brumbies teammates in concert. Little Matt Gitto probed. He had an instinct that Joe Roff was accelerating, and the big fellow arrived.
Well, the reason the try was scored early on from Elton Flatley, taking the direct ball. Here we see Matt Giddo throwing the pass behind Matt Burke. Wasn't a decoy play, didn't take anyone out, and Joe Roff has been sliding through gaps all his career and does another one tonight.
Perfect timing. Giddo put the ball out in front. You couldn't have asked for it on a plate for Joe Roff. He didn't have to do too much after he got the ball. The work had been done for him beforehand, and the boys are happy.
So Joe Roff, playing in his third World Cup, scores his 28th Test try, and both of Australia's 5-pointers coming from the wingers. 81,350 fans on hand at mighty Telstra Stadium. Australia lose ahead now. Pichot wrapped up by Giteau. That's Grau.
Still your advantage, Blue.
Argentina now trying to back themselves to score a try in the closing stages. Orengo, he delivered the final pass for Argentina's try. Now Manuel Contepomi.
Great advantage played by Honus tonight, hasn't he? He's let the play go on for on some occasions 4 or 5 times before he's actually called it back up. He's been very composed. I think he's done a magnificent job right across the board.
Well, the bonus point looking a bit remote for Argentina. They need to get within 7 points of Australia to get a bonus point. 16 the margin at the moment. Missed goal kicks haven't helped their cause. Albanese. No halfback. Phil Waugh picked it up. Burke. And the Australians now through Gregan, who cleared brilliantly. David Lyons. Gregan again. Giddo wants it. Flatley. Driven back by Contepomi. Good work, Argentina.
The Argentinians did some good work there. They've actually driven over the top, but instead of just doing that and driving over the top, they've actually then put a hand in as they're underneath. So as they've got the drive forward, the hand's on the ball, the blue hand has just tried to push it back just ever so gently, and Honus all over it.
And the referee has ruled there that the ruck was formed. The players from either side, you only need one from either side in contact over the ball on the ground. This is little Albanese again. Diego loves to step. He's around Sailor. Here's Coletto. He's got one try already, and look at him go! Gregan with a try-saving tackle. And Burke. Straight downfield. What a passage of play. Here they go again through Longo. Nunes Piosek. And some very tired players in the end. But electrifying pace from Coletto, who was almost over for his second, but it was George Gregan who saved the day.
We've been having a go at Albanese all afternoon. George Gregan, great work. He's just covered him, shadowed him from behind, picked the right time and pulled him down. We've been having a go at Albanese all afternoon, but when he gets a chance, he's giving it his best shot.
Here's a popular decision. Chris Whittaker is on the field, second in the New South Wales Players Award, and Lottie Takiri's on too for try-scoring hero Joe Roff. Whittaker doesn't get much game time in the shadow of George Gregan, but he's out there in the opening World Cup game, and he drops the ball, but it went backwards. Here's Flatley now. Pumas now beaten. 16-point lead for Australia. Giteau looking dangerous against the tiring defenders. Here's Whittaker. Lovely pass to Paul. Desperate defence by Coletto. He's been Argentina's best tonight.
Turnover.
Pichot. Counters on. Contepomi. Lovely work from Martin. This is Nunes Piosek. Takiri wrapped him up. Manuel Contepomi. Good tackle by Giteau. Argentina retains possession.
Penalty for Australia now. Acting captain Elton Flatley with David Giffen off the pitch, his other vice-captain, and George Gregan off. It's an important decision with a couple of minutes to go. Australia have to keep attacking, but good work by Argentina. They keep the pressure on, and they're fighting right through to the end.
Just on the screen there a second ago, Lottie Dakiri, he's out to have a big night tonight. I don't know who his hairdresser is, or whether he's got one, or just sticks his finger in a light socket there, gives it a bit of a zap before he comes on the field.
At least he's got some.
Always have to bring up the ball a bit, don't you, Tim?
You prop forwards are just jealous. So Whittaker again with a nice pass out to Flatley. David Lyons. And here's Burke. 10 metres out, Matthew Burke. Getting very close here for Australia. Knock on by Argentina. Referee playing advantage. So the last rites being applied by the Wallabies. They're off to a winning start in this danger game against Argentina, who've self-destructed here tonight.
It's taken 65 minutes, but this is what we're after from Australia, to get them to start throwing the ball. Lyons has started to pick up where he did in the first 15 and 20 minutes. Burke, we haven't seen too much of him, but everything he's done tonight has been spot on the money.
Can they post another try? And it's against Ben Darwin for dropping his shoulder. Deliberately collapsing.
Go. It's always one of the touchy decisions a referee's got to make, whether or not it just goes down naturally because of the force, or whether or not he believes the player's actually brought it down. And the only way you can normally see that is depending on which angle the elbow. If the elbow is pointed down, he's usually going to give a penalty.
So Argentina with some very sloppy line-out work in the first half. Really architects of their downfall. The Wallabies haven't finished well tonight, but they're building. They've certainly laid a platform to really kick on in this tournament. Whittaker, Burrows. Referee's ruled a collapse maul. Use it or lose it, that's full time. Paul Honus says we've had enough, and it's a winning start for George Gregan and his Wallaby team. 24 plays 8, a try in either half to wingers Saylor and Roth. Corletto got a 72nd minute try for Argentina to cause a few flutters for the home team, but then Australia steadied through that Joe Roth try. 24-8 to Australia.
Well, Wallaby captain George Gregan with me. How was that performance by the Wallabies tonight?
It was a scratchy performance in some aspects, but you know, it was a positive start. We won our first game, and we won that game pretty convincingly. We had some opportunities which we didn't quite convert, but really happy